I sent you stuff about the Supreme Court, and
I know that was very interesting. In fact, I have it printed out right here.
and if you take it with what's going on now, with the states coming in saying, hey, we're closing the border, Texas, because it's now Article 3, Section 4, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
that they have the right to protect their border if the federal government won't do it, and the only option they have is to federalize the National Guard.
Uh-huh.
Which would make it perfectly clear, that he would lose the election if he does that. So, and 25 other states are supporting Texas, sending National Guard people and stuff like that. So, it's basically setting up for a states versus the federal government conflict. Remember that in the Civil War?
Yeah.
And
Well,
and my
actually,
point is that affidavit that I sent you and the petition to the Supreme Court dealt with the violations of the Constitution of our federal government, and the Supreme Court refused to hear it. They wouldn't hear it, and so what are they going to do now? Are they so corrupt that they won't even stand up for their oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution? That's their whole job.
I don't know. This is a pretty big decision.
Well, I mean, they have to stand up for the states' rights to defend
Yeah.
themselves and stop this federal bullshit.
Yeah.
The president's violating federal law by not closing the border, not fulfilling his obligation as the president to execute the laws of the United States.
Well, it there might also be a buff involved because I just put up a video last night that had an encapsulated video of a train going behind this guy's house with, well, there were probably about, I saw 30 or 40 cars just filled with military equipment.
Yeah.
He said it was headed south.
Well, I mean, that's a good sign. That's going down to the borderland there.
And it's not a good sign if Biden, decide if the message he's trying to bring is that I'm going to oppose you state officials with federal military.
Yeah, well, he can federalize this local state militias, but I don't know that that's going to happen. That
Yeah,
may not, that may not happen because of the violations of the constitutional responsibilities he's been doing.
well, he may also have a non-compliance problem when they're dealing with the state officers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a direct violation of the state's rights because they have a right to secure their border
And
under that Article 3 section.
that only makes sense.
Well, I mean, they quoted it, right? It says it's quoted. I mean, it's what the words say, right, Bill? This word means that, this word means that, this word means that, and that's that, and together that's what that says.
Whew. What a time we're living in.
Well, I mean, I saw this shit coming, in 2001 when they started this crap. That's what I was objecting to all along. It's a totalitarian process, and
Right.
we're in a police state. I also sent you the article that one of the main managers of the Rutherford Institute published.
Right. Yeah.
We went to them to try to get representation for the violation of our constitutional rights, and they couldn't find anybody that would help us with that lawsuit against the U.S. government.
Wow. And they're the very ones that are supposed to do that.
That's their charter. I mean, they're down in Virginia, just north of Charlottesville.
Right. So what's going to happen?
My crystal ball, I think Biden's going to back off.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he's being forced now to let the states handle it if he's not going to assist in the closing of the border, and then the states are going to do it. I think he's bound and determined that I think it's just too dangerous politically for him to do that. Everybody's saying don't do that. I mean, half the country is already backing Texas. Now, what's that tell you?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a significant number of others who like in New York, the case of New York, they want to shut it down because they're shipping. The whole idea with the with the infiltration of these immigrants was distribute them in the red states so they can weaken the red states,
Right.
and change them to blue states. Now that they're redistributing them to blue states, the blue states are beginning to realize the burden they've been trying to put on the red states, and that's that's what they were trying to, how they were trying to change the U.S. and its political setup. So it's
I have a
basically,
feeling I have a
yeah,
feeling they might be getting into trouble with that. I think that those people might flip, a significant percentage of them anyway, especially the legit refugees, just trying to come here on a wing and a prayer. Why are they
yeah,
coming here? They're coming
well,
for the American dream.
yeah, but that's an opportunity in terms of employment and finance and money and future. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I would say the Democrats aren't the one giving it to you. It's the conservative wing more than anybody.
Yeah. Ah,
But at any rate, I think Biden's going to back down. He hasn't done anything yet. They gave him 24 hours. It's already passed, right? And as you saw, there were more National Guard going down that way. So hey, he'll have to federalize the entire National Guard of 25 states.
I don't
That's
know.
a big bill to pick up.
He's not acting normally. I mean, he's acting politically suicidal.
Yeah,
I
we'll look at the
I don't
foreign
think they
approach.
care. I mean, he could the plan could already be that he's going to drop and somebody else is going to jump in, and so thereby he doesn't really care as long as he gets his get out of jail free card as he goes out the door.
Yeah, right.
He's
Well,
got all the money he needs.
yeah, you got that from China and Ukraine and various other countries around the world. Yeah,
Yeah, well, China just added an extra 250 million into
not
the
counting everything from previous days. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
always go back to a statement by uh, uh, God, I lost his name. Truman, Harry Truman, good old Harry Truman.
yeah.
He said, you don't get rich being a politician unless you're a crook. Well, how many rich politicians do we have in Washington? That's the number of crooks we got.
Well, there's another factor here, and that's no matter what they decide to do, I think they're going to try to do something chaotic because the whole Biden coup is breaking down right now.
Yeah.
And last thing they need is day after day coverage of the latest on um, impeachment of this one and impeachment of that one, and this one is being investigated, and it's just going to go on continuously for the rest of the year. They can't have that.
Yeah, right.
Right? They haven't let him defend himself. I mean, how is that going to stand?
It only stands if the courts don't stand up and correct it.
Yeah,
That's why I sent that material to you about the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court,
yeah,
because the question is the Supreme Court bought and paid for? Because I mean, look at what they did with Obama's Medicare thing, Obamacare.
yeah,
They modified the law so it would be acceptable to the court. That is not their job. They should have sent it back to Congress to modify it, and they didn't do that. They modified and passed it. That to me says somebody there in the court is bought and paid for.
huh. Think of it.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't hear my petition with the Elliott Shewkart and on the destruction of the constitutional rights of U.S. citizens. I mean, they're destroying the entire foundation of this country,
Right.
and they wouldn't hear it. And now the question is, what are they gonna do about this fiasco that they have with Trump and what they're trying to do, keep him off the ballots and stuff like that? I mean, what are they gonna do? Let's see if they vote. If they don't do the right thing, you can say, hey, these people are bought and paid for.
Well, no,
My thing was that a lot of that was started with the Chief Justice,
yeah,
especially back in Obamacare. That's where that
right,
started.
right. Well, I read
So
a story yesterday, and apparently the court is going to hear this on an expedited basis on
yeah,
February 8th, and they've already announced that they plan on rendering decisions on the same day.
yeah. Well, they
So,
should. I mean, it's an obvious decision.
yeah, that can only mean one thing to me, and that's that they're going to blow that removing political candidates off the ballot by states completely out of the water. Because imagine the repercussions should we lose in November, then we'll have no option but just to use lawfare, just like they've been doing it, or that's
Well, I mean, all the red states should reciprocate on all the Democrats.
that's what I'm
Just take
saying.
them off the
That's what's
ballot.
going to happen.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
have that. It would just be chaos every election, and it would soon go down to the state and the county level and everything else, and everybody would be suing everybody for every election,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
not going to happen. They will not let that happen,
yeah, yeah.
police state or no.
Especially now, they have to hear this controversy on the constitutional issue of states defending their right to defend their homelands. You know, the
That's
states.
pretty obvious. I mean,
Yeah, I know. To you and me, it is. Yeah, but what do you, well, you know, lawyers how they twist words.
well, I mean, like you say, we're under uh, near police state conditions.
Yeah.
You
Well,
call
you
it
know,
police
I've
state.
been saying that for years. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I just don't want to believe that.
I
I
know.
think there's still got to be some modicum of common sense American freedom left.
You would hope. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so too.
Well, we're going to see. It's going to be tested.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing about Biden fueling Iran with billions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
And gee, then they turn out to start upping their terror campaigns worldwide. What a surprise. And
yeah.
the thing of it is that a bunch of those guys undoubtedly have come across the border. I mean,
Well, I think they already know that. Yeah.
how many did it take to pull off 9/11? Was it seven or eight or something like that?
Well, it's what 19 total.
Between them and the Chinese, there could be 1,000 in
Oh,
country
easy,
right now.
easy. That's easy. Out of 6 to 8 million, sure.
And they're gonna pull everything they can to create maximum chaos between now and the election. Mark my
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
It's gonna be hell on earth just to
Well, and it's going to be an attempt to divert the attention from the real issues that are important here in this country,
that's
like the border, the economy, foreign relations, things
the
like that.
collapse of the coup
Yeah,
and the various
and law and
illegalities.
order. Yeah,
They've got to try to change that trajectory, and you bet they're gonna pull out the stops because they know they're all going to jail otherwise.
they should all go to jail. Let's put it that way. In my view,
Yeah,
I certainly agree with that. Do everything the right way.
right. Including bankrupting all of them.
That means looking back and not looking forward. Like when Obama came in, I knew immediately when he said, I'm not going to look back, I'm going to look forward. I said, we're doomed. Because that means he's not going to correct any of the problems that existed in the government at the time or had been, developing. And all that means is they're going to grow, increase, fester, and metastasize and get worse. And that's exactly what's happened. So, it's like an alcoholic. If you don't face the problem, you can't fix it. And you have to face the problem. That means looking back.
Yeah, but it's not worse by accident. It's worse by design. And
Yeah,
these
yeah.
people aren't just making stupid. They're actually doing this deliberately.
Yeah, it's a design. Yeah,
Biden's
yeah,
working for China. He's probably also working for Iran at this point. He certainly demonstrated with several billion dollars.
yeah.
So just like Pompeo said, as he exited the room, and they're already inside the gates. And that was
Yep.
absolutely right. And we're not going to fix this until we realize the depth of the treason that's going on right now.
I agree with that. Yeah. Yep.
They've had what, 7 or 8 years now to cleanse the military of
Well, I mean, yeah. These are people who hate the country. And
Yeah,
like
I'm just
Trump is right. They hate the country. I don't understand. I mean, like, they got it into the school systems now, where Americans are evil or something like that. Well, we're not
yeah,
evil.
right,
And it's a matter of pitting groups against one another. That's what they're doing. How you separate people into groups and make the groups fight among each other. That way you try to control the narrative and manipulate the outcome of what the people do and what they say and what they vote, how they vote. Uh, it's just great. I mean, it's a standard technique that the Nazis did, that everybody does. It's one of those techniques they use. It's like the how they were pushing Russiagate, and lots of people still believe that bullshit about Russiagate. you know, you know, I mean, and even after the Durham report, where he came out and said, "Hey, this was created by the DNC, it was their design, they paid for it, and all this stuff,"
right.
and the President Obama was briefed on it by Brennan and all that, and then, I was saying Brennan was the guy who executed the plan. The plan came together, but this is what I told my conversation with Pompeo. I ended up thinking he was more of a bureaucrat than anything else, because he didn't really. He said he was going to have the NSA and FBI call me and contact me to talk about the stuff. They never did. Okay. and,
That's the
and I
worst thing he could do.
I know.
Do you
Because
think
I,
that was
I would say,
deliberate?
what the hell's wrong with you people? Don't you have a brain, a technical brain there somewhere? You know, they would never do that. So that's why they would never let me testify in the Flynn case or the Roger Stone case, or even get that petition into the Supreme Court. They wouldn't let that. I couldn't testify because all of Congress knew I invented half this crap. They knew that because they funded it in the SARC. They were the ones who funded it, so they knew who did this, and that was Ed Loomis and me, right? We were the two guys leading that charge. Ed on the front end, me in the back end. Like Ed was managing acquisition of data. I was managing the analysis and figuring out what was important in the data to look at. So they knew it. That's why they can't let me testify, because you can't have plausible deniability if you do.
Right. Well, we'll just keep this little colloquy, or whatever you call it, up through the end of the election if we're both still alive.
Yeah. And kicking and feisty or something.
Right. But I mean, both you and I are old enough, so it wouldn't be the worst thing.
No.
So yeah, let's just leave it there. And I think this is a great thing to do. This is a great thing to do. And we can include other people along the way and do what we can do. That's all we can do.
Yeah. You need to look at that affidavit and the petition to the Supreme Court and the Rutherford statements. And, I think those things really would form a good item to discuss with other people included.
Yeah, well, I read them all. And
I said the Supreme Court rejected our petition to try to save the constitutional rights of everybody. And gee, I thought that was their job. Well, silly me, silly me. Why should I think that? But I mean, our founding principles are at stake here. The whole foundation of the country is at stake.
But there is literally no law enforcement at the top of the Justice Department at this time.
You mean the Just Us Department, and we're not included.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's say that a Supreme Court justice or two or three had legitimate threats to their families' lives. Who could they go to?
Well, that's supposed to be the FBI, right?
Yeah, well, no.
Yeah, I know. They aren't going to do anything. Oh, that's because, of course, we have a totalitarian state, a police state.
Okay.
Unfortunately. I mean, we're already basically there.
Let's make this the basis for the next one, and then we can spin off onto whatever the current events are.